Today in the house, we have Danny and his M240, and just like me and probably you, Danny wants to go faster. He already has a Pure 900 turbo, a CSF cooler, a Kies charge pipe, and so much more. So today, to help him go faster, we're doing probably something you didn't think about, TBM brakes. If you've been following along, we've been building Andrew's 1400 horsepower M340i. This thing is absolutely nuts, and if you've paid attention, you'll know that we recently installed TBMs on the front and rear of this car. Now, while it seems a little bit confusing to install a brake kit to go faster, let me break it down for you. Whenever you're building a car, whether it's driven on the street or the track only, it's all about your power to weight ratio. Typically speaking, for every 100 pounds of weight you're able to save, you're going to shave off about 1/10 of a second in your quarter mile, which is absolutely huge. With Andrew's car, we were able to shave off about 350 pounds in total just by doing these brakes on a car like this. Danny's gonna save over 100 pounds of weight, which is massive, especially when you get into rotating mass. Now, there's also another huge benefit, which you'll notice in the back of this car. By going so much smaller, you're able to fit the smallest wheels possible with the largest tires for the most grip. So by them being lightweight, you're gonna go faster, and by their small footprint, you're able to run something like this. Now, I will say, you're probably wanting to do like a 17-inch wheel or so. I don't think there's many 16-inch options on the market. You can see on Andrew's, we did a 15. If you do a 15, you have to grind the knuckle and there's a bolt. Now, it's not part of this video, but I will show you how to do it later. We're going to be putting these 15s on Danny's car, so after I do the brakes, I will show you unofficially as a non-DIY how to do it if you're curious, but that's really getting into like super race car stuff. Now, with these brake kits, there's actually a few different ways that you can run them safely. Andrew, as you can see, he has the whole kit on the fronts and the rears, and it works amazing. It's gonna give him the lightest weight, and he can run that giant tire. But for some of you, you might not want the inconvenience of maybe the rear parking brake issue. What are you talking about, Brian? Well, I'll tell you. With these BMWs on the G series, they have an electronic parking brake. So if you go to a caliper like this, you no longer have a parking brake. Now, for Andrew, he has a stripped out race car. It doesn't matter, he has a parking brake. But the other issue is that he looks at park on his dash every single time he gets in the car. And for some of you, it might be annoying. So if you're worried about the parking brake, one of the things you can do is you can run these safely on just the front. And as you can see here, it is quite the difference, and we're going to go over the weight savings later in the video. But this is going to be your primary weight savings, and you have no issue with the parking brake. Now, for those of you who want maximum braking and really you're looking for maximum grip, and you don't mind that issue with the parking brake that I mentioned earlier, you do have the ability to just run the rear kit. It is going to wipe out your e-brake. You are going to have a little light in your dash unless you figure out a way to code it out, but you're going to get kind of the best of both worlds because you get maximum braking, and you also have the ability to run a much smaller wheel with a much fatter tire, so you're going to grip like crazy. Now, I do want to say, while this setup I did say gives you the best braking, these brakes, while they are small, they are absolutely incredible. We did some test hits in Andrew's M340i at the track the other day. He was coming down from 180 miles an hour with not much runoff, and he was stopping fine. He didn't even have to deploy his parachute, which says a lot about the quality and the ability of these brakes. Whenever you are going for a drag brake that is smaller in size, you need to make sure that you get the highest quality one available. We've had issues with other brands not fitting right, leaking brake fluid, soft brake pedal. These things are a total game changer, and it's literally what we trust with Andrew's life at 1400 horsepower. So with that, I guess I should pull Danny's car on the lift and let's get started. All right, I finished doing the brakes on the driver's side so we can give you guys some accurate weights. What we're going to do is we're gonna do a head-to-head comparison. As you can see, my scale is zeroed out. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add this, and then the 2 bolts. Wow, so check it out, 40 pounds on the dot. So that gives us a total for the front brakes of 80 pounds. Do the best I can to write this upside down for you. Oh, this is weird. Like that? Is that right? Yeah. So now let's see what the TBM is. Oh, that's heavy. All right, the scale is taired. Let's see what the TBM fronts weigh. 12.12. That is the full brake kit for the TBMs for the front. So let's just double that. So we'll go 24.24. Wait, hold on. Okay, now let's move on to the rear, starting with the OEM. All right, for the rears, 31.34 pounds. For the rears, these are supposed to be the small, lightweight ones. Crazy. Let's write that down. All right, so this would be 62.68. TBM time. 10.32 for the rears. That's less than half of what the OEM setup is. Look how close we are to 100 pounds. 97. Dang it, I promised Danny 100. All right, check this out. We just did the math. Danny is saving 97.8 pounds. That is absolutely incredible. And that doesn't factor in the dust shields and additional hardware that I removed to get the 15s on, because most people aren't going to do that unless you're running a super small wheel. But your average person here is gonna save around this 98 pounds. Absolutely insane. This right here is about a 1/10 of a second off your quarter mile.
Unsprung weight is on 100 pounds for a 10.
Really? All right, come here. Here, you tell the people. You tell the people what they need to hear. Here's Andrew. He's gonna tell you a slight correction on what I said.
So typically 100 pounds is 1/10 of a second, but when you're talking about unsprung mass, especially rotating mass, there's a lot more inertia required to get that moving. So you get 3 times the advantage as if you were taking it directly out of like a set part of the car, like the cabin.
So like I said, Danny, you're gonna go faster. All right, now that we know what they weigh in at, let's take a look to see what they look like on the car. Over here, you can see this is the factory setup, and it looks probably like what you have right now. But with the TBM setup, check this out. Look how it looks on the car. It is so small, but it is so stinking cool. I love the color they used for the caliper as well. In the rear, let's start off since we're over here, and we'll check out the TBM again. What we had to do in the rear was I did have to do some shaving and whatnot, and I had to remove the heat shield because we're gonna put this massive tire on this small 15-inch over here, but super tiny. Now let's compare that to the factory. Check this thing out. This thing is bigger than some front rotors that I've seen on other cars. So massive brakes, severely downsized for maximum traction. All right, next up, let's finish up the passenger side. All right, we need to pause for a little bit of an update. I was talking to Danny, who was there. I don't know where he went. But anyway, he said, hey, you have the factory brakes off. When you put these on, can you add line lock? And the answer is absolutely yes. Now, this is not necessary if you are going to be doing a small brake kit. However, it is something that while you're there, you should really think about. Line lock allows you to hold just the brake pressure in the front wheels so that you can do nice smoky burnouts with ease at the track. Let's be honest, if you're doing lightweight brakes, drag radials, bead locks, while you're there, it makes sense to do this. So with that, let's throw these on and then we'll throw the brakes on. All right, so to show you what I did, basically I put a riv nut in the body of the car over here. So this way I can use my M8 bolt, and this is going to go here. I'm going to mount this once I have the other fender liner on, and then this way everything is going to be super clean. The only thing I have to do, we'll do it off camera, is just do all the wiring. And then this side of the car is totally set up. So now with that, let's finish the rear. so at this point we have all of the brakes physically installed. All we need to do now is flush out the brake fluid and do a proper bleed process, which we're going to get to in just a minute. Before I get to that though, as we mentioned, we're gonna put 15-inch wheels on here. And if you try to put a 15 on, it's not gonna work. The first thing that's gonna happen is you're going to hit the dust shield, which you can see it hits. But instead of me just telling you everything else we did, let's take a look at the other side. We did remove these plastics, and again, that just helps to make sure we have proper clearance. You'll also notice on the bolt head over here that we basically cut it in half. Now, I'm not gonna say this is the exact amount that you need to shave off for your wheels because every wheel is a little bit different. So that's why I'm not telling you exactly the measurements and all that, because you're gonna basically, if you're going to be doing this, you basically have to kind of figure it out for yourself. You shave a little bit off, you do a test fit, fits. If it doesn't fit, and then you just keep going. The other area that we did have to grind off a little bit is down here. I just need to smoothen this out just a hair more, but we do have fitment with it as it is. I just need to make it look a little bit better. The other thing, you'll notice that this arm is actually upside down. The cool thing is it works upside down. And again, make sure that you do all of this at your own risk. I'm just showing you what we do on a lot of our race cars. This is going to give you the clearance that you need. Typically, again, it depends on the wheel that you're going to be running, but for the wheels that we have run currently and in the past, this gives us the clearance. Otherwise, we'll just take a look over here. This part right here, it'll fit when you put the wheel on, and then as soon as you put the car on the ground, this part right here, this nasty piece of steel, is going to dig into your wheel and destroy your very expensive wheels. So now that I've done everything on this side, let me just knock this out real quick, and then we'll jump to the bleed process. All right, just the clearance we need. So now what we can do is we can fill, flush, and bleed the brakes. So now what we're going to do is we are going to do a full flush and bleed all four corners of the car. If you don't know how to do that, we have a link for you down in the description where you'll also find links to all the products that we installed in today's video. All right, to finish out the bleed, I do need to use the process that is found in ISTA or something like my AUTEL scanner over here. You literally hook the car up, you go to hot functions, and it'll say brake bleeding routine. So when you click it, it will literally lead you through the entire process step by step. So off camera, Joe and I are going to knock this out. All right, we just finished the electronic bleed process with our AUTEL scanner and the brakes are completely done. But before I show you how they actually feel on the road, well, I got to talking to Danny again and he mentioned that with all this grip, he has some concerns because he was slipping 5th and 6th gear. Well, as you can see over here, we're putting the trans in to make sure that we address that. You see, with these cars, as many of you know, they typically slip around 550 pound-feet of torque. Danny is at like 720 with his torque, and his horsepower is over 800. So it's no wonder that he's slipping 5th and 6th gear. And if you've been following along, you'll know that we just built Andrew a 1400 horsepower M340i. Well, we happen to have a spare pure transmission in town. So we're going to install this in Danny's car. We're going to fill it up with some Licomali Top Tech 1800. And then we have one more thing we're going to address. Now that Danny has crazy power thanks to his pure 900 turbo, he's gonna have all the grip in the world thanks to the wheels, the tires, and also the transmission. Well, this bad boy is gonna be the next thing that's going to snap. This is the stock drive shaft, and as you can see, this is not rated for 800 horsepower and 700 pound-feet of torque. One of the big concerns about these is if you do snap it, and we know someone this happened to, what happens is you can actually gouge your gas tank depending on where it decides to twist and throw shrapnel. So we're gonna try to prevent that thanks to an East Coast Driveline carbon fiber drive shaft, which is going to arrive just a little bit later. So while we're waiting for that, let's throw in the trans and fill it up with some liquid moly. Then once all of this is done, we'll take it for a drive. And I promise, I'm gonna tell you how those brakes feel. So we have the trans in, we have the drive shaft in, we have all of the fluid in the trans, and now we need to take it for a spin to see how these brakes feel. All right, now we still need to go through the proper bedding in process, but just to get some initial observations, that wasn't even slamming it on. That was pretty good. These feel good. They definitely feel a little bit softer than factory. I mean, they're a fraction of the size, but like from like 50. Oh yeah. All right, let's go a little more aggressive. Oh yeah, I felt the blood in my brain.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a little seasick on that one. They feel great. They definitely feel a little bit softer. Don't jump in here thinking like it's gonna feel like exactly the same. It definitely feels a little bit softer, but still a great amount of stopping power. I wish I could like better articulate how this feels, but also with a lot of these race pads too, like you have to get heat into them. And again, you have to go through the whole bedding in process. We literally just wanted to see how it felt just right out of the gate. Ugh. Now, the only thing that I didn't show you how to fully set up was how to set up your line lock. Now, on a rear wheel drive car, it's very easy. You just hook that up. If you have an all wheel drive car like this one, you will need some kind of controller to be able to put you in 2 and 4 wheel drive. We're not covering that in this video, but to set up your line lock, your solenoids have 2 wires on them. It doesn't matter which wire you use, but basically you're going to take 2 of them. You're gonna take 1 from each and you're going to ground those. The other, you're going to join those. Then you're going to have a switch and then a power source. So when you flip the power source, it kicks on the solenoid. The way that line lock works is you press down on the brake as hard as you can. I like to actually pump it twice. Then you enable it. And right now I have line lock enabled. And then when you flip the switch and you break the signal, the car will roll again. But anyway, I hope you found today's video helpful. If you have questions about any of the products, we have everything listed for you down below, and our team is always able to help. Anyway, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.